Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Dalsgaard Christensen. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Continia Software. The agenda for today is very simple. I will give you a very short heads up on Continia in general. Typically, a What's New webinar is presenting new features and changes on an existing solution. Since this is a total new solution, news here are the entire solution. Presenter here will be my colleague, Federica, our Solution Manager for Continia Sustainability, and I'm sure she will make a further introduction of herself when she's on. When she has done her presentation, I will give her a little break. During this break, and since it's a new solution, I will guide you through the pricing of using Continia Sustainability. And again, we will answer your questions right after we enter this live transmission. There might be a few comments if there's something on a general subject. For those of you who haven't met Continia before this webinar, very short, Continia is an international software vendor. We focus 100% building solution enhancing the financial capabilities within Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. Each and every solution is delivered through our partners. All our solutions are available on Microsoft App Stores, and 1st of October, all solutions were upgraded to new version 24R2, supporting the new Business Central 2024 Wave 2. Both in the Continia and Microsoft world, also called version 25. Within the next month, we will release extensions as well, supporting on-premises versions for Business Central 2 years back, plus the BC14, the last FOB version. For a notice, this version 2024 R2 will be the last version from Continia where we include BC14, the FOB version. Companies who remain on this version also for the time to come, this is the version you will be able to get. There will be no further version releases, and within 2 years, we do not offer support on the version any longer. Please also notice there is no BC14 FOB available for our new releases. That will mean the solution that you are going to see now, sustainability, but also Continia Banking and Finance. To support these new releases, we have established the most comprehensive range of What's New webinars in the Continia history. We offer webinars in English with both an European and American approach, and webinars in both German and Danish. Since you did register, you will get access to the recording of this event. Furthermore, we will make all recordings available on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel, and you will get notified when we are releasing new videos. Current status is that this Continia community now is supported by no less than 30,000 live installations within more than 45 countries. All solutions are supported by more than 1,600 partners with more than 12,000 people that have access to our partner services within license and technical support. We are humbled and honored by all the confidence and trust that lies in this number, and a big thank you to both our partners and customers. And here comes a little warm-up before you go through the product presentation. I know that you all are really busy in your daily works. When you are busy, you only do what is expected from you. And what is expected from you at the end of the day is a super sharp financial report in a certain currency. To deliver an emission report where the currency is CO2 might not be expected from you yet. But if that is what you think, you might think twice. Governments introducing legislation. Not quite there yet. Federica will give you a light on this. So you might tend to postpone until they are enforced. Investors. This might be costly for you. We see many investors have requirements about emission reporting today. Not only new investors you want to invite, if that is needed for your business, But existing investors or owners might also come knocking at your door right after the end of this webinar, asking for the emission report. And finally, customers. Now we get close to a need-to decision from your side. Many customers do require emission reporting today, some for the entire company, but many also require emission numbers on your deliveries. If you are not able to, you might lose your deal, or more important, your customer. To get top of this, the time is now, and don't worry, we got the right solution for you. So why should you as a partner or customer bet on Continia Sustainability as your solution? First of all, you do not need a new system with new user interfaces you need to learn. You stay in Business Central, and best of all, if you already use document capture and expense management, a majority of data will be collected with no or limited efforts when all is set up. Of course, you need to invest time in set up Continia Sustainability. But again, in a few minutes, Federica will give you insight of what that will require from you. Using document capture and expense management, you get the data in the way it's needed. And by the way, you process data for your finance report already, but now you also support the creation of an emission report. Choosing Continia Sustainability, you stay within Business Central, you do what you do today, and on top of that, you get your emission report. Emission reporting is new for all of us. We need to learn to improve. To get where we want to be, you must start today. We are ready to deliver, and Federica is ready to make our first broad introduction to Continia Sustainability. The screen is yours, Federica, when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Kim. You should be seeing my screen now.
We do.
Thank you. So welcome everyone to our first session on what's new in Continia Sustainability for this 2024 R2 release and the very first release for the sustainability product. My name is Federica Censato. I'm a solution manager at Continia Software. My background, it's actually not BC related, but I'm an environmental engineer with past experience in managing projects around energy transition and water management, carbon reduction, and helping companies and governments to define and implement their carbon strategies. So let's dive right in. Today's webinar will explore the functionalities of Continia Sustainability. And I'll start by building on what Kim just mentioned and explain why it is crucial that you start incorporating sustainability data into your annual reports. So I think there is no doubt, and it's no surprise to anyone, that there is increasing pressure to act on climate and sustainability topic. And it's not only because we see the climate and environmental urgency around us, but mostly, I guess, because of the evolving regulations, like, for example, CSRD. This directive in EU, together with other similar directives and legislations around the world, is specifically pushing companies to report on their sustainability efforts, covering everything that goes from environment impact to social and governance factors. And now, even if your company is below the threshold that is set by this legislation, or you're not an EU-based company, you're not completely off the hook. The reality is that the market, as Kim mentioned, is applying itself pressure to the players. So large organizations that are already aligning with these requirements, they are expecting their partners and their suppliers to follow and provide the information that they need to do their own carbon reporting or ESG reporting. So if you want to remain competitive, it is very important that you start working on your ESG reporting now, before even the legislation mandated for you. And what the question is, why Continia Sustainability It's focusing on a very small part of this ESG reporting, meaning the carbon accounting for this first release, when we have over 1,500 data points in the ESG reporting, and carbon accounting only covers about 50. The answer is that carbon emissions are very complex to measure and manage, and the process of carbon accounting requires knowledge and time to be performed. And this is where a lot of companies struggle and they are hesitant in starting in the process. So we really wanted to provide a robust solution that will help them with this challenge first. So let's start by defining what carbon accounting is in a very simple way, and we can split it in more single and simple steps. First one would be the collection of data. So we begin by categorizing activities and hence emissions into three main areas. These areas are defined by the greenhouse gas protocol that you see here. And this is the standard that is used internationally to define carbon accounting. So companies, countries, individuals will use it to report their carbon emissions. And it's also the standard that Continia Sustainability used to be developed. So it divides the carbon footprint in three main scopes. First one, scope one, relates to direct emissions. So from owned sources like the company fleet or machineries that you use in your operations. Scope two, indirect emissions relating to purchased energy that you consume, like for example, electricity. And then scope three, it's really the most comprehensive and probably complex scope, covering all emission of the company, supply chain, and employees commuting, which includes everything from what you buy, how you transport it, the waste that you generate, the product that you sell, and how your employees travel for work. It is divided into, let's say, branches, an upstream branch for upstream processes and a downstream one, and in 15 individual categories. Very well. Once we have gathered all the data, like fuel usage, energy bills, travel records, the next step is to match this data with the right emission factor. These factors are numbers measured in carbon dioxide per unit of baseline data. That can be liters of fuel, can be currency of amount spent for something that you purchase. And so they convert your activity data into carbon emissions. The final step is to gather all these carbon emissions in a report, because the goal is not only to report in the end, but to actively reduce your environmental impact and comply with the regulation, achieve your own sustainability goals, and stay competitive in the market. Now that you saw what carbon accounting is in a very simple way, let's dive into how Continia Sustainability can make this process easier, simpler, and more efficient for you. So today we have a very comprehensive solution that simplifies and automates carbon accounting directly within Business Central. And it works, again, in three simple steps. First, as we said, it's the data collection. So it enables company to track all the necessary data directly from Business Central system. The data import is very flexible, and it also allows you for manual recording if, for example, you need additional data that is not in Business Central, which would be the case, for example, for employee commuting data. And we made it so that it integrates with other Continia products, for example, document capture and expense management, making the data processing much faster and streamlined. So you're not only relying on financial data, which is not wrong, especially if you're starting off with this process, but it can be improved if you're able to capture relevant sustainability data with ease, namely liters of fuel or the night spent in a hotel. Once data is gathered, you will need to calculate emissions. And this Continia Sustainability does it automatically. The system calculates, but also allocates your emissions into the right scope, 1, 2, and 3, and category of scope 3, based not on your knowledge on where emissions should go, but on the carbon accounting boundaries that you set and the setting of your solution. So the process transforms both financial and quantitative data into carbon emissions in really few quick clicks. And it uses for this more than 50,000 integrated emission factors, which are ready to use, absolutely free to use, and it will save you the time and the hassle of looking for those yourself and having to input them manually. Last step, as we said, it's reporting. So Continia Sustainability can help you publish and post your emission data into a report that can be the one that comes by default with the solution, perfectly aligned with requirements of the GHG protocol, which ensures both that you meet international standards, but also that you have a report that is comparable with other companies within your sector or industry, or within the country or across countries. And these reports provide very good insight that can help you reduce your environmental impact and track your progress towards the sustainability goals that you set. And to give you a better sense of how everything can build together, I will start from this final step, reporting, and work our way backwards. So what you see here, it's a preview of the default report that comes with our Continia Sustainability solution. If you recall the scheme that I showed you in the beginning, it aligns with this scope. So you have all the list of these 3 scopes and 15 categories. And it shows emissions in CO2 equivalents because like this, you're able to compare them. And the report itself functions very similarly to financial reports that you know very well in Business Central. So you can define your own columns and rows and compare different years based on all your company needs. So in Continia Sustainability, the environmental report offers the same level of customization. And in the same way that financial reports are generated through journals and general ledger accounts, you can think about our sustainability report following a similar process. And I will show you in the next slide how it works. So it all starts with data collection, as we said, which is organized into what we call environmental accounts and emission types. So if GL accounts are used in BC to categorize and track financial transactions, then environmental accounts and emission types have a similar purpose in carbon accounting. They can help you track and categorize your business activities with an environmental impact. So environmental accounts that you see here are divided in macro categories for you to be easier to collect the right data. You can see here we have facilities, vehicle, purchase goods and services, transport and distribution, waste, etc. Emission types, on the other hand, feed the data, part of this data, into the environmental accounts, and they are focused on tracking more frequent activities, like, for example, fuel or electricity consumption. Then activities are registered in the environmental journal, where emissions are automatically calculated. And just as financial journal record transaction, environmental journal are used to manage and track emission data. These journals are structured similarly to the environmental accounts, so they are divided again in facilities, vehicle, goods and services, transportation, etc. And serve as basis for the emission calculations. Finally, of course, to calculate emissions, we need the activity data, but also these emission factors. So to calculate your total emissions, you simply multiply the collected data by the emission factor that are integrated in the solution. They are all stored in the solution, free to use. You don't have to search for them manually, and they are both at the global level and country specific for some countries. And this simplifies the whole calculation process and ensure that you have very accurate, efficient, and reliable results. Okay, let's see a bit more in detail these concepts, starting by emission types. So emission types are categories used to define recurring sources of emissions across all your business operation and that are fed inside the environmental accounts. And these include fuels like gasoline or diesel that are used in your company fleet, electricity, refrigerant gases that are used in your AC system, heating or cooling. And we can have a look at how a card for an emission type look. This one, for example, is for fuel, petrol in particular. And you have to simply name the card and link it to an emission factor from a database that can be your own or can be those provided by Continia. You see here DEFRA. DEFRA is a database that it's UK-based, but it's internationally recognized and used around the globe. So this factor helps to convert the liters of fuel into measurable carbon emission. For purchase electricity, instead, it's a little bit more of a unique approach where you need to specify two emission factors reflecting what's called dual electricity reporting required by the GHG protocol. Don't worry, this is only required for electricity and you have set it up once and then it's done. So this dual factor approach accounts for basically this different aspect of the purchased electricity. The location-based one relates to the energy mix of the country or the region you're based in. And the market-based approach relates to the energy mix of the supplier you have a contract with. At last, the emission types are used to repeatedly across the environmental accounts, so you don't have to specify the same emission factor over and over. You register it once and you use it in the environmental accounts. Speaking of environmental accounts, these are very configurable and flexible accounts that will suit the needs of your company and the structure that you need. And just like GL accounts, they can be organized into different sections or groups, giving you full control over how your emissions data is managed. Of course, you can only post on posting accounts. And here you'll either link an emission type that we just saw, or directly connect it to an emission factor. Each account card is designed in a specific way that will ensure that the system can automatically allocate the emission in the right scope. So the system or the card will ask you for a few more details to specify when you create the card, depending on the type of card. If we take, for example, an office, it will ask you if the office is leased or owned. Then the system will know, having this information, where to put the emission related to this office between the scopes. Environmental journal, like traditional journal, are the space where user can work and register any type of activity, whether if it's a specific journal like the vehicle or a business travel or a general journal. And you can work with financial data or quantitative data, and the system will generate results instantly. Plus, you can also zoom in the results for a detailed breakdown, helping to gain a better understanding of the calculation. So you can access additional information like, for example, unit conversion, so that the quantity that you input is converted automatically into the unit of measure of the emission factor. The emission factor used, of course, the database that it's sourced from and the version, meaning the year, the breakdown in different greenhouse gas, and if we're discussing electricity, there will be also the energy mix that the electricity relates to. Very important also is to have a feature that allows you to produce multiple outputs with one single entry. So many activities can have an impact in multiple scopes at the same time. If we take fuel, for example, we will have emissions related to the burning of the fuel and emission related to the upstream processes to generate the fuel. And with continuous sustainability, you can generate this automatically and with one entry. Recurring journals, yeah, we have kept the functionality of recurring journal, except that this, of course, serve to record regular activities with an environmental impact. And they can be automated and scheduled according to the company needs, and of course, organized in templates. At last, one of the major advantages of continuous sustainability, it is that it integrates emission factors in the solution. So user can have access to a vast collection of more than 50,000 emission factors, which cover databases both at global level and country-specific level. And here is the best part, is that Continia automatically updates them annually. All you need to do is to accept when you receive a notification that there is an update for the database that you're using and download the latest version. And if an emission factor changes with a version, the system can recalculate even posted emissions. So you're sure that your report is always up to date. And of course, each emission is expressed in CO2 equivalents, but it is also broken down in different Kyoto Protocol gases. But you can still compare it with the one of other databases and choose the emission factor that is better for your activities. And for electricity related emissions, then you have also an energy mix that you can specify. Of course, if you're not satisfied with the selection that we offer at the moment, or your suppliers provide you with custom emission factors, no problem. You can create your own custom emission factor sets, making them the system very flexible and adaptable to your needs. I'll jump in the first demo of today. All the pages, the relevant pages of Continia Sustainability. You have it here. So you have journals that we saw, pages for setup that are less important at the moment, environmental accounts and emission types, and then you have reports, a historical register, and then a task to recalculate posted emissions. What I will do is that I will guide you from the creation of a fuel as an emission type in the use of the fuel in a vehicle environmental account and see in the journal how we can play with the flexibility of the system. So I'll start with the fuel. What you see here, it's a list of fuels that are relevant for the company that we have created for this demo system. So if you have a company fleet, you're likely to be registering fuel for diesel and petrol. If you have vessel, maybe marine fuel. If you have boilers for water, maybe natural gas. So let's see how the card looks. You will just define name and code, and you have to link this to an emission factor. So you will select from the list that you have the emission factor database that you want. Within the emission factor database, you have different categories. I will be selecting fuel. And because we are recording a card for petrol, then I will be looking for an emission factor called petrol, and I will be selecting this one. You can see here that you have multiple unit codes to register your activity data, but you will know that in the journal, you can register your data in the unit that you want, as long as you have the conversion and the conversion is done to the emission factor. You can also go into the detail, and we have some primary for the combustion of the fuel and some upstream processes related emissions. And here you have the breakdown in the different greenhouse gas. All right, so the emission type is defined. What I will do now is that I go in my vehicle environmental account. What you see here, it's a very detailed list of vehicles. I will take the passenger cars that are registered for my company and start with this BMW. Very important here, and this is what I was mentioning before, is to state the ownership of the car. So by stating the ownership, the system will know where the emissions related to this BMW will be allocated. So you don't need to know if this goes in scope 1, scope 2, or scope 3, simply if the vehicle is owned by the company or it's a leasing contract. Second step is to define the propulsion type of the vehicle. In this case, we're talking about fuel, and I will select the fuel from the list that I just created. In this case, is petrol. If I report my use of the vehicle simply by reporting liters of fuel, then it's done. I have here automatically pre-filled the information about my emission factor and database, and my job is done. If the company also reports emissions related to vehicles on a distance base, then I can define another emission factor. I can take the same database and define an emission factor that is based on kilometers this time. If I want to be even more accurate, then I can even specify the efficiency of my car in miles per gallon or liters per 100 kilometers. In this way, when you input kilometers or miles or distance travel, the system will be able to transform it into gallons or liters and use this emission factor, which is much more precise because the fuel consumed on a distance, it's really dependent on how we drive the car or the age of the car. And this will not change. The emission per liter of fuel are always the same. Very well. I'll show you also an example of an electric car. So we, of course, define propulsion type electric. And this time we say, okay, it's electricity for UK because I'm driving in UK. If I'm reporting the expense based on the kilowatt that I charge in my car, my job is done. If, again, I report in based on distance, then I will have to specify a distance emission factor. This time it's mandatory for the user to specify the kilowatts per kilometer, so the efficiency of the car. This way, the system, besides calculating the emission factor related to electricity on a location-based approach, is also able to calculate emissions related to market-based approach. Last example, it's about a plug-in hybrid car, which, of course, this time it's a mix between fuel here and electricity here. The same way, if I just define fuel and electricity, it will be pre-filled here. I don't have anything else to do. If I want to report the use of the car through distance, then I will have to define an emission factor for plug-in hybrid. Again, to calculate market base or calculate the use of the electric engine and fuel engine, I will need to define an utility factor. Don't worry, this comes by default with the solution. You are just able to change it if you think that you use your car more in electric mode or fuel mode. All right, we saw the environmental accounts, and now we'll jump into the journals. I will go into the vehicle journal, select my BMW, and here I have to input the kilometers, the liters that I put into my tank. The system will calculate automatically the emissions in scope 1, those related to burning of the fuel or consumption of the fuel, and scope 2, those related to the upstream processes. Here you have all details that we mentioned before. In the same way, if I want to report on distance, I will blank this column here of the emission type and state the distance traveled. I will have again This time a conversion, automatic conversion from miles to kilometers, and my emissions calculated. The system picks up the version of the emission factor automatically based on your posting date. Meaning that if I have an emission factor version for 2024, my system will be able to use this one. I will just show you a electric car as well. So I can input the kilowatts that are recharged. This time I have two results, one for location-based result for electricity and market-based result. It says market, yes. And I will have my energy mix specified here. At last, I can show you the plug-in hybrid. I can report on fuel with liters. I can report on electricity with kilowatts, or I can report on distance traveled and have the true result instantly. What you do is that you simply post, and the emissions will go into the sustainability report. You have a default one here, again, aligned with GHG protocol, so the 3 scopes, and you can have different years at comparison, and you will have the results immediately here. Of course, location and market-based emissions are not summed up. You will choose the approach that you prefer best at the end. Before going back to the presentation, I will just pass through the emission factor sets. So these are the ones that are managed by Continia and updated by Continia, so you don't have to worry. But you can select the one that better applies to your country or your industry. Can be Denmark, it can be UK with DEFRA and the SIC codes. They are both quantity-based and spend-based. So you have a system that is very flexible. All right, let me jump back. Another big strength of Continia Sustainability is that it fully integrates into Business Central. And the time-consuming and complex part of carbon accounting is that you would normally have to gather data manually from different sources. This integration in Business Central is key because it enhances your existing workflows rather than forcing you to adapt to a completely new system and have to import data manually. So the fact that we have standard functionality of Business Central integrated with Continia Sustainability allows you to incorporate carbon accounting into your daily processes and processes that you are familiar with. So you're not dealing with the separate and standalone product, but it's rather an extension of your current system. And the system makes it very easy to import relevant data into environmental journals. We will see it in a few moments. It's just in few clicks. And you will keep your same familiar interface, role center, navigation panes, and data input features. So this ensures that the learning curve also for your employees is very minimal, and you can get started immediately without having to adapt to a complete new interface or workflows. So with Continia Sustainability, you can import BC data into environmental journals using a number of different sources. One example is item ledger or through the item card, where you have a new fast tab to link environmental account and number, leaving the solution to fill in the rest. The same works for GL account card or GL entries, where you can specify the same details in the fast tab for environmental accounting and make them feel easily, and you can even set it as mandatory. Then you can source your information from a purchase invoice or a credit memo, where the user will see new columns dedicated to environmental data. Don't worry, it doesn't take much more. We will see it in a moment. It's just at the moment of your invoice creation, you can specify just maybe a number more. So if you have already the link to the GL account, then these fields will be already pre-filled. And here you can see the list of available sources that can be imported in the journals where emission will be then calculated. And of course, as I mentioned in the beginning, we integrate with other Continia products, namely expense management, where the user can see new fields in the mobile app and provides environmental data very easily, and document capture, where incoming documents recognition can be completed with environmental data as well, and they are ready to be imported into the sustainability system and posted into the sustainability report. Here you have a clear example of the possible workflows to get Business Central data into sustainability. As we just said, you can start from a travel expense or purchase invoice and get them through expense management or document capture, where they will be populated with environmental data, and you can import them into the sustainability journals to verify numbers or calculations and post them then after into the sustainability reports. All right, let's go into our second and last demo of the day. I'll start from showing you in the environmental accounts where you can set these data sources. So I'll pick one that I already set up. You have a fast tab called data source where you can define one of these sources. And then when it's defined, you can set all the filters that you need. In this case, I selected a specific item and I say that the entry type should be purchase. And I see that I have 17 new records that are waiting to be imported in my sustainability report. And the same information, but in an overall and not from specific environmental account, you can see them from this page called environmental data sources. In this case, I only have one set up, but once you start set them up for multiple accounts, then you will see them all here. The important part is that, of course, they don't overlap. I'll show you all the sources at once, and then we'll see how we get them inside the environmental journals. So, second way to import data is through a purchase invoice. I prepared one already for an electricity bill that I receive. I selected a GL account called Electricity for Property. And in this GL account, so that I don't lose time every time, I already specify an environmental account type. And I could even specify an account number. But because I want the system to be flexible, and I don't know if, I have different offices and the electricity bill can be from London or Manchester office, then I will leave this blank. But I can specify this into my invoice line. So it's just one click. And the system will ask me to input the kilowatt of this invoice. I can do it now, or I can do it later in the environmental journal. Let's say that I do it now. And that's it. I will just post my invoice. Okay. Third step, or third way to import data is through expense management. Let me launch the app. At the moment, the only functionality that is available in expense management is to register new expense, so mileage and per diem are still a work in process. But let's start by recording one for a hotel, for example. Right, I will say that it's cash. Expense type, I'll say it's a hotel. And when I say it's hotel, the system will ask me in which country did I stay. Let's say Canada. And it already pre-filled the number of nights from my attachment. I will submit. I will create a new one for a flight. Okay, I will specify training. I will say that I fly from, sorry, you have to specify here the economy class that you travel in. Let's say that it's economy. And from where did you fly? Copenhagen to, let's say, Heathrow. Okay, it's a return trip. Yes, that's it. So you have 3 new fields, 4 that the user is going to fill in, but with very basic information that it doesn't have to look anywhere. Okay, let me go back to my system. I will go into my expenses. Okay, I already have an expense here. I will just synchronize to have the other 2. Okay, I'll start by the one that was already here. So it's a expense from a gas station where the system has already put in the liters of fuel that has read in the expense. And in my settings, I have linked this already to my vehicle as employee. I will just approve. It's already approved. And post. Yes. Why it is not? Well, okay, I'll show you from another invoice, no problem. Let's take the one from High Hotel. I have the same information that I enter in my mobile app, so number of nights. It's business travel linked to my account for Canada that I select, and the number of nights that were read in the invoice. I will just post. Yes, approve first. It's not posting my invoices anymore. All right, let's try with the last one. This is one for the travel. It's for my economy class, my travel from Copenhagen to Heathrow and way back, because I said return trip. So it already calculated my the distance in kilometers. And let's see if this is working. Yes, yes. Okay, let's get back to this later. Otherwise, we'll lose too much time. I'll show you this from DC now. So what we have in DC, I will go in my document journal. I already prepare one document for us. So in here, you have new fields for environmental accounting that you can easily add from add template field here. What I do is that I select an account. Okay, I recognize fields, and I will have the environmental account type and number that are already pre-filled because I specify them in the GL account. I don't need any more information or this field to be filled in because this account calculates emission based on value, and I already have the value in the invoice. So what I do is just I register my document. Okay. It opens to an invoice. I will just post. Let's try. No. Okay. What we do now is that we go back to our journals and we hit home, import data, import to all journals, and I will have my new documents that show. So I will have the invoices for electricity, and they are already calculated with emissions for location-based and market-based results that I can simply post. So they are registered in my sustainability report. Then I will go into my purchase goods and services journal, where I have one document from document capture that posted with results allocated in scope 1 category, scope 3 category 1, and these all other lines that are sourced from the item ledger entry data source and filter that I set up. In the same way, I will just post. Okay, and then I will have an invoice from expense of my business travel with emissions calculated, allocated into scope 3, category 6 for business travel, that I can again simply post. Yes. Okay. I will go into my sustainability reports. I don't have to do anything else. I just sit back and look at my results in my report. Okay, very quickly, I know we're running out of time. I will just talk about the localization that we are releasing sustainability in. We have selected just a few for this first release because every country for us, it's detailed research in emissions factor and regulations that apply in each localization. But with future release, we will increase the pool of countries that are included for the solution. And the solution is now available in BC25, both on clouds and on-prem in the next days. And we are going to release also for BC14 in the upcoming days as well. As Kim said, we have decided not to release in BC14 to align with our strategy with other Continia products that are phasing out support for this older version. And to conclude, before I give back the floor to Kim, I would like to just talk to you about the difference between Continia Sustainability and Microsoft Standards. We are currently operating independently for Microsoft Standard, but we understand that alignment with Microsoft is a way to make things easier for both partners and end users. So we are planning to align with Microsoft Standard solution in the future, integrating and building on top of them. So we are currently operating on our own path, but we are committing to evolve Continia Sustainability to better fit into Microsoft ecosystem, maintaining always our extra automation and extra feature that set us apart. And let me talk about this extra feature very quickly. So we have automation, not only in calculations, but also in allocation of the emissions through the setup of the organizational boundaries and settings of your company, and automated unit conversion to match the emission factor unit of measure. The emission factors comes integrated into the solution with a large pool of values expressed in CO2 equivalents and broken down in different Kyoto Protocol gases, with the possibility as Microsoft to register your own, of course. And then we discussed and we saw the fact that one entry can end up into multiple results that are automatically allocated into multiple scopes, if that's the case. We have very flexible data imports, not only from GL accounts and purchase invoices, but also for credit memo, purchase invoice line, and expense management and document capture. And in the end, we have our sustainability reports that align with the GHG protocol requirements. You have the possibility to recalculate your posted emissions if anything changes in your emission factor, and you will see results in CO2 equivalents for universal comparison. Sorry for going this quick in the last part. That would be all on my side. My overview, it's over. Just remember that you can find a lot of information in the learning paths in Continia Learn and in Continia Docs as well. And I'll give back the stage to Kim.
Thank you, Federica. Very, very nice presentation. Your background is on the sustainability part, but it's hard to see that a few years back you didn't even know the existence of Business Central. You navigated like you were born within it. So thank you very much for a nice presentation. I will take over the screen. So I will present to you the pricing for sustainability, since it's a new solution. The price sets, of course, are also new. And I hope that you will see that we have defined and are going to introduce a very attractive set of pricing, so you will be able to make a fast, quick decision to get on board doing emission reports together with Continia Sustainability. As many of you might know, Continia got two sets of licenses separated by on-premises and cloud if you are on Business Central on-premises or you are using the cloud version. And at the Continia websites, there is a price section where you can find our pricing for all our solutions in multiple currencies. Here I will focus on the price for using Continia Sustainability for Business Central Cloud through the app on Microsoft App Source. For all our apps, there are no order processes. You can simply click download and install the app and try it out for up to 30 days for free. You will be able to set up your emission impact within 5 minutes from when you began installing the app. And after 30-day trial is over, you can continue to use Continia Sustainability based on how many production environments you use it in within a calendar month. For many solutions, you must pay for the software before you even start installing the solution. With apps from Continia, you can install, try it out, and use it before you make your first payment of the for using the solution. In other words, starting up and learn how to use our software is on us. For the introduction of Continia Sustainability, we introduce a super simple and a super sharp price. One single price production environment with in one Business Central tenant. No extra charges, no hidden fees. Group companies can get further advantages since we offer a 100% discount on use in additional production environments rest of this year. First, the invoice you will see on this will be in February for the use in January. Since we are in October, of course, you must speed up your decision process. But hey, we are ready to deliver today, as you saw in Federica's presentation. So that was actually the last slide. I don't know if you made Federica, if you made a glimpse through the chats, if there was something you die to mention before we end the live chat. Otherwise, of course, we will type in answers on the questions coming in right after we end this live event. Federica, any comments before we close down?
I will take the question on the chat, as I see they are very specific to certain processes in BC, and some relates to emission factors, which I think I already replied in the end of the presentation.
Yes. Good. So of course we'll add some comments in the chat right after we have ended this meeting. So thank you very much to Federica, and thank you for all of you for attending, and have a great day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.